They showed up on my doorstep before I even finished my morning coffee. 2 months of silence, and suddenly, there they were, my parents, my sister, her two screaming kids dragging their chaos up my porch steps like they owned the place. I didn't flinch. I just opened the door, calm as stone. My sister hissed past me without asking, her kids scattering through my living room. My parents followed, faces set in that same old look of quiet disapproval. I knew why they were here. What they didn't know was that I was ready. It all started with something simple, a vacation, my first in years. I worked overtime, saved every penny, canceled plan after plan, just so I could finally take a trip for myself. When I told my family the celebration was brief, my sister cut in fast. Wait until the kids are out of school. It'll be easier for everyone. And by everyone, she meant herself. She meant I'd babysit. Again. But this time I said no. I said I was leaving when I wanted. The silence that followed was louder than any fight. Then came the fury. My mother's guilt-soaked words, my father's cold lectures, my sister's venom disguised as family unity. I ignored them. I boarded that plane. I lived every second of my trip like it was oxygen I'd been denied for years. And when I came back, I stayed quiet. No explanations. No apologies. To them, that silence was war. The signs came quickly. Snide comments under family photos. Passive-aggressive texts about forgetting where you came from. A cousin whispering that I was being called selfish at every gathering I skipped. They wanted a reaction. I gave them none. Because I wasn't just ignoring them. I was planning. I built an archive. Years of texts where I canceled my life to babysit. Records of money borrowed and never returned. Voicemails where my mother asked me to bend, again and again, every receipt, every demand, every manipulation. Then I started reaching out, to the aunt they alienated, to the cousin they ignored. Piece by piece, I built my own circle, my own truth. By the time they cracked, I wasn't alone anymore, which brings us back to my living room. My sister stood there, arms crossed, eyes blazing. You think you're better than us? Running off, ignoring us like we're nothing? You owe this family. I didn't argue. I just walked to the drawer, pulled out a thick folder, and dropped it on the coffee table. You want to talk about what I owe? I said, let's talk about everything I've already given. Page by page, I laid it out, screenshots, transfers, messages. My parents leaned in, their faces drained of color. This is years of my life. I said, years of being treated like I exist to serve you. That ended today. For once, my sister had no words. I turned to my parents. You taught me loyalty was everything. But loyalty is earned, not demanded. The room was silent, except for the restless shuffling of children too young to realize their mother was being dismantled, piece by piece. Finally, my father's voice cracked. So, what do you want from us? I almost smiled. Nothing. That's the point. I walked to the door, opened it wide. You came here to drag me back into the role you built for me. But I don't play it anymore. Leave. They hesitated. My sister looked at me like she was seeing me for the first time. Not as a convenient sibling, but as someone who had stepped out of her shadow. And then one by one they left. No hugs. No promises. Just silence. When the door closed, the house was mine again. The air felt sharp, alive. They thought I'd crumble without them. Instead, I thrived. They thought I'd beg for approval. Instead, I cut the strings. Family is supposed to lift you. Mine tried to chain me. But chains can be broken, and once they are, you don't go back. I poured another cup of coffee and smiled. Because revenge doesn't always need fire and fury. Sometimes it's silence. Sometimes it's survival. And sometimes it's watching them realize they